Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. So far in my Warhammer Quest restoration project, I have inventoried the contents and purchased the few things I was missing. I have also cleaned, assembled, repaired and based the miniatures. To the bottom of each miniature, I have affixed a magnet, and they are now all safely housed in a 4-litre rubber steel lined really useful box code crate. This is how I store all of my painted miniatures, and I have done videos in the past talking about the process. You will find a link in the video description below if you would like to know more. While the miniatures are now crated up and stored in a gigantic stack of similar crates, the rest of my Warhammer Quest materials will be housed in the original box. I fished out a cheap tackle box that I purchased in a UK Poundland store years ago, and I have dumped all of my tokens and dice in there. I think most gamers at some point in their lives will have organised games that lack proper inserts using this sort of thing. Having done that, the next step is to ensure the box itself is in sound condition. I've mentioned before that many Games Workshop games released around this time suffered from having very flimsy boxes. Both the top and bottom part of each box is nothing more than a folded piece of thin card. As a result, it's not uncommon to see game boxes from this period in poor condition. For example, lids will often be dished from heavier items placed on top. Incidentally, if you have to stack boxes, you can avoid lid dishing by arranging your games so that boxes of exactly the same dimensions are stacked, or by ensuring that larger boxes are placed on top of smaller boxes. Failing that, just make sure the boxes on the bottom are filled right to the top. I am rather fortunate in that the lid of my box is in fair condition, with only very minor dishing, but there is a crease running from one corner. Dishes and creases can be resolved in the same manner. First, I'm going to put down a sheet of greaseproof paper on a hard flat surface for protection, and then I'm going to lie the box lid on top. If you need to, you can unfold the box. Be really careful with this. Take note of how all the folds go together so you can restore the box afterwards. If you can treat the box without unfolding it, then I would do so. It's generally a good idea to futz around with the card as little as possible. But would you look at that? I found a bonus Skaven shield inside the folds of the box. Those sneaky rat men get everywhere. To deal with the creases or dishing, you want to slightly moisten the cardboard on the inside of the lid. I use Febreze, which is a fabric freshener, and I do that for a couple of reasons. There is less chance of water stains, which can occur in hard water areas, and it smells nice, which can help with any musty odours. Don't go nuts with the spray, but dampen the card enough to make it more malleable, then line the lid with greaseproof paper, and put some big heavy books on top. I use my daughter's Marvel and DC books, she doesn't read them anymore anyway. Once the card is completely dry, any dishing should be significantly reduced and creases should be squished out. The next thing to do is fix up any ripped or peeling corners. You can do this with the box folded or flat. If you're doing it folded, apply some glue to the damaged area. You can use regular PVA or bookbinder's glue. They both dry clear and bond card really well. Don't use any glue that might yellow, and definitely don't use super glue. As always, when doing any kind of repair work, test your glue before you do anything with your expensive board game. And if you're in doubt, don't do it. Better to have a box with some minor damage than a box with damage that you have made even worse. Assuming all is well, use a flat tool like this texture paint tool from Games Workshop to work the glue into the tears. Use the tool to smooth the paper covering back into place as much as possible and wipe off any excess. Then get 2 pieces of acid-free archival quality card and wrap a piece of greaseproof paper around each. Make sure it's a really good quality paper because it will come into contact with glue, and I have found that the really cheap greaseproof paper can tear when you peel it off. Slip the first card inside the flap of the box and place the second on the outside. Secure them with a clamp of some kind, like a bulldog clip, and then leave it to dry. The clamp will squeeze the damaged areas together, and then the glue will set really hard and you should have a neat finish. If you want to do the fix while the box is flat, just apply the glue in the manner already discussed, sandwich the damaged area between 2 sheets of greaseproof paper, and then press with your heavy books. Once the glue is dry, you should find that the greaseproof paper separates away without damage if you use care and the paper was of a decent quality. And all being well, your tears and scuffs will be largely restored. If there are any marks on the black areas of the box, a good old Sharpie can be used to touch up the damage. Alternatively, if you are feeling particularly artistic, you can mix some acrylic paints to colour match the art for an even better finish. You may also have tears on your corners. These are a bit of a pig to deal with, as it's difficult to get the 2 parts to bond. To resolve this situation, I apply glue to the tears and work it into the paper covering, making sure to wipe off any excess with my finger or a cloth. I then take a strip of good quality greaseproof paper and place it on the outside. I take a piece of card and place it on top, using a clip to hold it in place. I then pull the greaseproof paper as tight as possible, trying to get the 2 parts of the torn box to sit together. Then I use another piece of card and some more clips to hold the other side. This should be sufficient to hold the box together long enough for the glue to set. And as you can see here, when I remove the card and the greaseproof paper, we actually have a fairly good join there, and we can touch up any of the damaged areas with a black permanent marker. When you are restoring a box like this, you may also have some tape damage. This is likely if you have picked up a game in a charity shop where the tape monkeys are prone to getting heavy-handed. Leftover tape should never be torn off. Instead, heat it with a hairdryer. This will melt the glue and you can usually peel the tape off without too much harm. If removing tape does take off some of the paper covering, that is more of a problem. You could try to restore the art by hand with paint, you could try printing off replacement art to paste over the damage, but honestly, as far as I'm concerned, the best thing to do is just leave it. It's a bit of character on an old game, and sometimes trying to fix it up can make it look worse. Anyway, after all that pressing, gluing and colouring, here is my box lid, and I'm pretty happy with that. Considering how flimsy these boxes are in the first place, this has gone together pretty well. The corners are much stronger, all the scuffs are neatened up, and the creases are greatly improved. The last issue I have to deal with on this box is a tear in the base. This is quite a big one, but luckily it's in the corner, which is going to make repairing it much easier. When we look inside the box, we can see that most of the tear is concealed under the flaps of the card, which means we have something there that we can bond the torn section to, and that is a big help. First, I need to unfold this section of the box to gain access to the tear. As before, I want to be careful here. I don't want to damage or weaken these flaps. Then I'm going to apply my bookbinding glue along the tear, and I'm going to work it into the damaged region with my texture paint tool. I can wipe away any excess with my finger before reassembling the box. Then it's just a matter of lining the box with greaseproof paper and placing some heavy books on top to squash everything back together. And that will do just fine. It's not an invisible mend by any means, but that is now firmly glued and has restored some of the box's structural integrity. Now, if the damage was more central, it's more difficult to deal with as there isn't another surface to bond to. In this case, the best thing to do is cut a piece of card the size of the base of the box and glue it inside. And if the whole box is in very poor shape, you can reinforce the whole thing. You could craft a form-fitting insert out of thick card or foam core, which is the stuff I use for making custom inserts for games like Hero Quest. But I am leaving it there. The box wasn't too bad to start with, and now it is much improved, and I'm ready to start looking at more of the contents. Next up, the floor tiles. Hopefully you will join me for that. Until then, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like this video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.